Another close game where Purdue had a chance to win, but end up getting lost their final game of the Big Ten regular season. We will break down everything that you need to know from the game and upcoming right here on Boilers in the Stands.
It's Zach Eady with Purdue men's basketball, and you're watching Boilers in the Stands.
Welcome back to Boilers in the Stands, live from State Farm Center here at Illinois. A little bit of a makeshift podcast. If we glitch, if we get kicked out, we're kind of just gonna let this fly, and hopefully we're able to get through the full show. But I'm joined by, as always, Kraig Bowers, our other co-host Braggs. He just had ACL surgery today, so everybody go on Twitter. Wish him a speedy recovery. Purdue loses 88-80 to close out the Big Ten regular season. At this point, most likely not going to get the double bye in the Big Ten tournament at 13-7. Will need some help with, at minimum, one of Wisconsin and Maryland losing. And even then, I have not had time to go through all of the tiebreakers. But Kraig, throw it to you. Just kind of initial thoughts and reactions from the game.
I think obviously just this is a tough one to lose because for large stretches of the game, it really felt like Purdue was in control of this one. I think they lead close to 24 minutes, almost 27 minutes of this game. A couple of different times they get up by 9 or 10 at different times. And there was kind of always a feeling, real early on, I think I put out there that like, this looks like an offensive game. Not sure that either team's defense is really going to be able to slow the other ones down. Purdue got every look they wanted tonight. It was just simply a matter of missing some shots at key moments, especially. But Illinois was getting looks too. And Illinois went through a really big stretch in the middle of this game where they weren't hitting shots, hit some early, hit some late. Really got going late there towards the end, and they went on their little offensive run at the end. I think Purdue did some really good things tonight when you just talk about energy on rebounding, right? This Illinois team came in as a really, really highly ranked rebounding team. That was the first thing that jumps out and worries you about this game. And Purdue did a really nice job there. And Purdue did a really nice job running their offense and getting the shots they wanted. They just didn't knock down enough open ones. And it seems silly, right? We were talking about this on the walk up here. It seems silly to say this was an offensive problem when you score 80 points. 80 points should be enough to win you a game most all the time. But there were just a lot of points left out there. Painter talked about it in the post-game press conference that TKR goes in the half like 5 of 11 or 6 of 11 and thought those, like every other shot that he took, were shots that normally go down for him. Braden misses some open threes tonight as well and a couple of open middies in the beginning of the game. You can point to the defense for sure. There need to be some defensive changes. I don't know against a team like Illinois how much this Purdue team can change defensively. At some point, they are who they are, right? And they can beat teams like this by outscoring them. And tonight, really open looks just didn't go down for them.
Yeah, from a process standpoint, Purdue had every chance to win this game. They go 5 of 18 from 3, though, and Illinois goes 11 from 30. I don't know specifically how this run ended, but I know to start this game, Illinois started 3 of 3 from 3. If you remember, they took an early lead. They then went 2 of 20 from 3, and Purdue took a lead. And then they knocked down 4 in a row. There's a ton of defensive stuff that Purdue can improve on, especially the cutting, or defense against the cutting. But at some point, like, Illinois just made some more shots. And as you said, Purdue got good look after good look after good look, and they made a lot of them. Right? TKR goes for 29 on 13 of 23 shooting, but there still just felt like enough points out there, enough buckets out there that Purdue should have probably still had this. Other area that Illinois dominates, I know, skewed probably by 4 free throws from fouling at the end, but Illinois wins free throws 21 out of 25 to 11 out of 13. They got to the line more, and they took advantage there, shot well. And yeah, this is like, to me, this isn't a, loss that's like, oh, the sky is falling again. Like, Purdue lost to an Illinois team that was in the same spot as Purdue of, hey, you can look really good any game. There are also games you look really bad. Purdue looked really good for 30 minutes of this game, and Illinois just was able to do enough in those other 10s. But, like, I don't know. At this point, you just regroup, go to Big Ten tournament, and you just try to finish out the season. Like, I still think at their ceiling, this is a team that can make a deep run, but this is also a team that, if things don't quite fall, like, they could lose in the first round, and that's just kind of where we're at. And I don't know, gonna be exciting to see the run. Before throw it back to you, we've had already a good bit of super chats in here, so I want to just go through some of those, get them off the top of the show as people have sent those in. We appreciate everybody tuning in. It is 11 Eastern. I assume my clock. No, 10 Eastern.
Yep. Nope. It's
My
11
clock,
Eastern.
Oh man, yeah, we're not getting home till late. The clock is Central Time here, but I didn't know if my clock shifted or not. But 11 o'clock Eastern time after Purdue loss, still have plenty of people in here, and we appreciate that. And if you are here, make sure to like. If you haven't subscribed already, do that. Turn on bell notifications. And if you're watching on Twitter and YouTube, we definitely appreciate that. If you want to head over to our YouTube and watch there, that does really help us. Let's get into a few of these super chats off rip. Jason Depew, $4.99 said, overall good game. Knew we get Illinois' best after last year's game. And that's for sure. Like, you could definitely tell the crowd was into it, and it's senior night for Illinois, right? There's just certain things like that it just adds a different level to the game. Another $1.99 from Jason Depew says, agree, Jeff Nestor. I just don't like Jeff A as a ref. I think that's Jeff Anderson. I'm not a big ref guy. Jeffrey Anderson per Ken Palm. He was on the game. I know we can probably talk about refs a sec if we wanted to after we get through some of these. Derek Mulligan. And if you had any comments on these, just jump in. If not, I'm just going to keep going. Derek Mulligan, 1999 super chat says, you guys rock. It's March. This only mattered for seeding. Have to go win games. Painter cost this game when Purdue was up 10 and he took TKR out. Go dominate the tourney. I wish he got TKR back in a minute sooner. I understand you, right? He got him out right before the under 12 timeout. Was surprised he didn't bring him in back right after. I don't know if that specifically, at the end cost him the game because Purdue is still up however many with only a couple minutes left. But did you have any thoughts on that one? I didn't know if that was a hand motion.
Yeah, I do directly to Painter's post-game press conference here because somebody kind of asked that same question, not really the same, but did ask a question about kind of the rotation there. And essentially what he said was, they go back every time they look at the stat sheet and they look at minutes and they go back and analyze those games. And in his mind, sometimes less is more because they're not as tired. They're not as worn out. And when they get exhausted, they make silly fouls. They miss open layups or whatever it may be. He's essentially said that staff kind of decided they really like Lawyer like at 30 minutes. They feel like they get the most productive out of minutes out of Lawyer when he plays around 30 a game. They said they like Trey, maybe around 32, 33, something like that. And I think he played 35 tonight, or maybe it was around 35. I forget between the two players, but he essentially said there's marks where they've analytically looked at everything and said, all right, when we go over this, they start doing things they normally don't do, and we get in trouble. But he said it's a really hard decision to make, and you never know in the moment whether you're making the right decision. You're going off of past knowledge from what you've seen, and trying to do the best thing that you can in those spots. I'm with you. I thought maybe it was a minute or two too long because I think that lead came down to 5 or 6 in that short little stretch there. But I think it's a tough spot to be in. Half the time we come in these comments and we hear Purdue's 2 stars are too tired. Right. They've got to find a way to get them more rest. And then when you do, sometimes you get in this spot. So.
Yep. It's a balance. And we have those comments have also been in the chat too of Painter needs to rest guys more. So a tough spot to be when you lose. Cause it's right. There's not it's only lose scenarios for that. If you're a coach, it's you make one decision. And if you make the other, it doesn't mean you win either way. Jason Depew, $4.99 says, I disagree with Miles' tech call. High knee strikes again. Live, I understood. Watching back, I'm like, oh, that's probably not a tech. But watching live in person, I think we both. I look over there because I can see him. I should look into the camera because I'm doing a webcam or a web show. But I think we both said like, "Oh yeah, that's a Tech live." If I remember correctly, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I believe we both kind of had that thought, watching specifically as soon as it happened.
Yeah, I thought it was the pull up action. Like to me, anytime you're holding on to it and then you pull yourself up, to me that's going to elicit a technical response. I think the argument that they were making, obviously we're not seeing the same replays you guys are at home, and we're not hearing what the announcers are saying, or if they bring an officiating kind of professional on to give their opinion as well. To know whether he felt like somebody was coming underneath him and he had to pull himself up. But I think that's what generally tends to trigger that technical, is if you see a guy go ahead and pull himself up, and it looked like that in real time to Joe and I think. So I wasn't appalled by it, but then I, like I said, saw other stuff coming out, and it was like, okay, well, maybe we didn't read that right in real time.
Yeah.
I did shoot Isaiah a message. We'll see if he answers me back.
Okay. Again, appreciate all the support. Lots of super chats in here already. Really do appreciate that. David Dillman 199 says, thanks for the amazing regular season coverage. And hopefully we got 9 more games to cover, or 10 more? 10 more, because Purdue probably will have 4 games in the Big Ten tournament if they win it, or realistically, hopefully like 2 in the Big Ten tournament and then 6 in the March Madness tournament. TD Rants for 199. Issue with runs at the end of first and second half. That Illinois did go on a 7-0 run right after the Miles Tech call. I know Painter's going to get blamed for it, especially those first half, because it continues to happen. But I watched it, like watching the game, it was just like, oh, Purdue missed 2 shots, Illinois hit 2 threes in a row. Like, sometimes it feels like sometimes it just I don't think there's a good explanation other than just like shot just didn't fall, and that's the theme, and we'll talk more about that. Kathy K.
Yeah, I think some of it is just natural swings and runs of the game where it kind of comes back to more maybe where it is. But I think where they maybe struggle, where some other teams excelled, is that if they do miss 2 shots in a row, like you said, against a lot of teams, they just haven't had the defensive identity to be like, okay, we are going to lock you down for 2 possessions in a row. It doesn't matter who you got coming at us. We have the ability to lock you down and hold the lead that way. They've got to keep making shots against these high offensive power output type of teams like this Illinois team can be.
Yeah, for sure. Kathy K with a €23.99. Is that a euro symbol?
I think so. Yeah. We do have some listeners in Europe, some Purdue alumni.
Well, that's gotta be an early morning for you if you are over in Europe. But appreciate the support. Says, thanks for the great coverage, Bits. Let's go win the rest of March. Boiler up. Could not agree more. Dave H with a $9.99 super sticker, and maybe that in the actual chat that pops up differently. But we appreciate the support. Salty B, and I think this maybe can transition. It's our last one. We can transition to a little bit more talk. $5 says Smith missed 4 open threes at the end of the game. Tired legs were the major contributor. With rest, he probably hits 2 of them. I couldn't disagree more. I agree. Tired legs and all that. I don't think you can say that with healthy legs he hits those, or not healthy legs, but rested legs, and also I don't know. Like how much do we think 2 minutes of rest in the first half helps him in the last 3 minutes of the second half? Truthfully, maybe it does a little bit, and maybe I'm underestimating. But are you sitting him in the second half when you sit TKR for a couple minutes? Like when are you sitting Braden for those minutes? I don't disagree with, in theory, trying to get Braden a couple minutes of rest, but I do think it gets overplayed a bit.
Yeah, I do think it can factor in, obviously, right? When you have tired legs, you don't get the same lift on your shot and everything else. And I thought even in the mid-range, maybe it looked like he just wasn't getting the same normal lift that he gets from time to time. So I understand what Salty B's saying. And I also understand what you're saying is like, all right, but like, where do you, it's back to the TKR thing, right? Like, except it's the flip side here. It's the flip side of this argument. So, do you make sure you give him those minutes? I'm comfortable. I thought, when Purdue gets up 10, I'm honestly more comfortable with Braden sitting a couple minutes and CJ running the point than I am maybe with some of the other guys sitting out in a game like this to me. Yeah. I'll just go ahead and say that in this type of game, because like TKR was going to eat, and you let him eat. Like when and big guys struggle to play a full game, right? But like when Trey's out, where are you going down low? Because there isn't anybody. And you have a massive advantage down there when Trey is in the game. So you can kind of go to just some action where you're basically just posting Trey up, And then if you got CJ and Jakari on the wings, they've proven plenty of times in the last 6-7 games that, they can still knock down kick out threes. But when Trey's out and Braden's trying to run the show, then they don't have to worry about anybody down low, and they can shut down on everybody else on the perimeter. And then I think it gets that much harder. So I'm almost more comfortable in a weird, like in just like 2-minute stretches, right? 2-3 minute stretches. I'm almost more comfortable the other way.
Yeah. And I probably responded a little harsh because I do understand, like, tired legs lead to missed shot. Like, I do understand. But it's just like, I think I would like for his rest to be almost just more just like really just feature TKR in the post more. And like or run some off-ball stuff for CJ and Lawyer. Like give Braden a couple possessions that way where defenses still have to worry about him. He can still push the break. He can, if you get to 8 seconds, he can still just bail you out with a pick and roll, but let a couple plays maybe be where he just is spotting up and let TKR go to work. But yeah, so I think there's no guarantee that he would have hit them. But I probably thinking through it a little bit more. Like I would like to get him a couple, like, I don't know, but like how much does a minute rest in the second half do? Or I guess it's how much do you trust Purdue without Braden for 3 minutes? And I don't know. I don't know the answer to it. That's for sure. So let's get into just kind of, I guess, transitioning from there. I don't know exactly what you want to go to next. I'm just going to throw it to you. I'll let you just pick next where we go.
Where we're going? All right. We are going to go, good sir, to thanking our sponsor.
There you go. That's what we're going to do. Never mind.
All right. Once again, we would like to thank BJ Rule for his sponsorship. Purdue graduate and current Lafayette resident, BJ Rule has close to 15 years experience helping buyers, sellers, and real estate investors in Lafayette and surrounding areas. If you're looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate, give BJ a call or text to set up an appointment to see how he can help you accomplish your goals. Your home will likely be the most expensive purchase of your life. Have the experts with Rainey & Company at Keller Williams on your side and let BJ help you navigate this process. Call 317-345-4600. Once again, thank you very much to BJ for all of your support throughout the year, and to Michelle. We appreciate you both. Give them a call for your real estate needs.
Yep. So did I start it? I didn't. Kathy K. There it is. Says 5 a.m. and I need to fall asleep, but not sure it will happen in Germany. That is, like we were talking about, we're going to have a late night. That is, maybe that's an early morning. Well, no, you said need to fall asleep. So that is a very, very late night. And we appreciate you tuning in all the way from Germany at 5 a.m.
We're international, Joe.
We are. So I think, like we've talked about already, right? I think Purdue just misses some shots they should make. Some of it probably from tired legs a little bit, but TKR goes 13. But TKR, there was even just to start the game, he missed 3 really early on that I thought it was just like, oh man, it was almost worrisome that I was just like, oh, is this the Indiana game all over again, where he just like cannot get going? And obviously he turns that around, goes for 29. Braden Smith goes for 18 points, 12 assists, 9 rebounds. Lawyer has 14 points. Like the numbers were there. Just some 3-pointers didn't fall, some bunnies didn't fall, and then Purdue's defense was nowhere near good enough to be able to counter. So I think that summarizes everything. Where do you want to go into more detail?
Yeah, no, I mean, like it's literally like, all right, Purdue wasn't going to get enough defensive stops. Are there things now? Painter did make a change in this game, and then you saw Underwood counter, right? So Illinois was great cutting off ball. And in those first 10 minutes of the game, I just looked at you and said, how do they keep getting open on those dive cuts just right down the middle, and getting wide open looks at the rim? And Painter actually went away from doubling the post for literally, I think, the first time this year. I cannot remember another game this year where they just let Caleb go man on man in the post. And for a while, it countered productively. They were kind of shutting them off. They were getting more bodies on those cuts, and they weren't getting near as easy a looks. And then Underwood countered back and just said, all right, we're just going to pull him out, and we're going to go 5 small ball all the way across the board. Everybody's going to be able to shoot threes. Painter goes to Cam. Cam does a nice job of slowing it down a little bit when First was getting, or were the team with First out there was getting beat in it. Then Cam picks up that 4th and 5th foul, or 5th foul, I guess, that put him out of the game, and they got to finish it out that way. And Illinois hit shots down the stretch, but you're right. Really, this game by and large, both teams were going to be able to create offense. Both teams were going to be able to get looks, and we just didn't hit them down the stretch.
Yeah, and
really not even. Let me stop. Not just down the stretch, because even though we had a lead earlier, like I said, I felt really adamantly felt at halftime, if just shots this team normally hits, wide open shots, really good looks in the paint, also, that this team would have been up 12-15.
Yeah, and like looking through. Purdue non-freshman Purdue are 2 of 13 from 3, and Chikari was 2 of 2. Everybody else was 3 of 16 from 3. Like, at some point you just got to hit shots, especially against an Illinois team that's going to take and make a lot of them. I guess I do want to talk about the defense some. You mentioned First staying 1-on-1, and I asked Painter about that in the post game presser, and he just said he said it was a little bit of trusting Caleb as a one-on-one defender, wanting to take away Visic's pass, and then also just trying to minimize Illinois' cutting ability. And I think he said it twice in the answer, like basically, and right, you can think about it, even when Purdue works in the post, a lot of times you see TKR gets the ball in the post, somebody dives. Lots of teams do that. It's not just a Purdue thing. Illinois will do that. And Painter's frustration was basically that Purdue just wouldn't take divers, and I think there was a lot of times it felt like the communication wasn't there, where right, they're switching a lot off ball, and if you're doing that, that means you really got to be on point in terms of your communication, in terms of your alignment, in terms of understanding, okay, if this pass happens, and you have to process this really quickly, but if this pass happens, who is going where, right? Because if you're staying 1-on-1 and somebody dives, somebody has to take him. And if there is a skip pass or something like that, which is what Painter would prefer rather than just a dive to the rim, then you got to be able to X out from there. And he just said, like, guys just had trouble taking care of the divers. And so that was against 1-on-1 in the post, but even just throughout Illinois' entire offense, like, credit to Illinois, because they did such a good job of basically, right, we know Purdue's defense plays in rotation a lot. They show help towards the rim because they don't have an elite rim protector. And Illinois just every time would just eat up that space. And it would be one dribble drive and immediate cut on the baseline, or immediate cut through the guts into the paint. And it was just every single time. And like, credit to Illinois for being able to do that, because it's not, cutting is a timing thing. Cutting is how you work with your teammates, and Illinois was just on it from the jump today. And right, we can talk about Purdue needs rim protectors and all that. Like, it is March 7th. You are who you are. Right. Purdue does not have a rim protector on this roster. That is just how it is. So that means you have to figure out other ways to slow it down. This team does not have to be great defensively. This team at times does not even need to be good defensively. This team today, if they were just fine defensively, or more consistently just fine, they probably win this game. Now, Illinois hit a couple tough shots, and it wasn't like Purdue was all bad defense, but that's kind of my synopsis, I guess, on the off-ball cutting, especially because, yes, Illinois, they hit threes. They went 11-30, but
yeah,
they had how many points off cuts did they have today? It felt like probably 16, 18, 20. I'm sure it's probably a little less than that, but
it's hard to tell because Purdue dominated points in the paint like so much in this game that it feels like Illinois got a ton of them, and then you look at points in the paint, and Purdue still just absolutely dominated points in the paint. So I don't know. as we came into this game, we were worried about Purdue defensively against a team, right, where you really can't cheat off anybody. Like all 5 guys potentially can score, whether that's cutting to the rim, whether that's shooting threes for some of them, Avicic posting up. Like all 5 of them have some offensive weaponry to them. Trey White, right, is maybe somebody you think, well, isn't an offensive star, but he's very capable of doing what he did tonight, which was putting up 20 points, playing the way that he plays. We were really worried about Will Riley just with his length at the wing. He did a lot of what we said he was going to do, right? He just got to his spot and either shot a little turnaround jumper or just flat out rose up over guys that are smaller than him, and hung 22 on us. And then the other huge thing we were worried about coming into this, Purdue actually did well in offensive rebounding. They really did not give up we said if they were within a couple, I think my 2 keys, right? My 2 keys were offensive rebounding has to be close and can't let Riley go off. Well, we got one of the 2.
Yeah, and I just looked it up, and I actually undersold. Illinois had 24 points off cuts today. Like, you shore that up, you win this game. Right, you make some shots, you win this game. It's right. This is why my takeaway is not Purdue is done, as I think some people will say. Not that they're. I said it off top. This team I still think can make a deep run. This team can lose in the first round. That's just where they're at with this team. But defense against the cuts was even worse than I expected. But yeah, Trey White was awesome. I mean, he's a career 30% 3-point shooter. He goes 3 of 5. Will Riley goes 2 of 4, and he's been 25% coming into the game and during conference play from 3. Like, you get some of that stuff as well. Hummerkaus is 2 of 4. Jakob Jonas was really the one that was struggling. Jakob Jonas and Boswell from 3. I don't know. Like, it's one of those games that's just like, it sucks. It's happening live. I don't have insane takeaways. Like, I don't think the sky is falling, but also obviously Purdue needs to improve stuff. And so it makes it hard for me to analyze, right? Like, Purdue's defense was bad. Purdue just needed to make a couple more shots. And I don't want to leave it as just that simple of analysis, but that's just kind of where I'm at with this game. It just almost was as simple as that.
Yeah, and I'm not walking away from this game just being like, oh, my opinion of this team or who they are from a quality standpoint or what they might be able to do in March changes. This does inch us closer to potentially a 5 seed. Obviously, the lower you get, just kind of the less preference that you may have in terms of the order of where you play, which can make things harder and everything else as well. And obviously, you can go 5-12, right? That 12 seed line, there's some teams that jump out that scare me in terms of teams that are projected to be on that 12 seed line in terms of what they do and do well for this type of a matchup, potentially.
Yeah, for sure. And maybe that's where we want to go. I'm going to bring it up. Shark Tank 1515 says, you guys serious? This has nothing to do about how good Illinois is. It has everything to do with Burgess getting 1 second to play. I am obviously I've been very, very open in the past of like single game plus minus is not always used correctly. He played 5 minutes and they were even in those minutes. Like, it's not like Purdue was minus a lot or minus at all in those minutes. Just want to put that out there. But I guess let's is there anything else within this game that you want to talk about from a player standpoint? Like, I know we're going to keep this one a little bit shorter. We don't also have to hit on too much tourney stuff because, and somebody asked, and I'll bring out the comment now. David Dillman said, is there a bracketology special with Coach Tantoni coming up that we can look forward to? We have it penciled in for Sunday, 5:30 Eastern time-ish. That is the plan as of right now. Obviously, if things change, we'll let everybody know. But there will be that coming up, so maybe we don't have to have too much bracketology talk on this one, and we'll keep it more Illinois-focused. Jakari was good. I was impressed with Jakari. 8 points. I'll throw up the stats here. 8 points, 3 of 4 shooting, 2 of 2 from 3. Did have 3 fouls, a steal, 13 minutes. Still, I think he went rogue a couple times defensively, which is probably why he didn't play even more. But I mean, he looked good. Lawyer was lethal from the mid range. Braden was awesome except for missing some shots late. CJ, I thought, looked good. He has another 5 rebound game. Like, there's still plenty of good to take away from this game. I guess, as I'm just kind of scrambling right now for figuring out what to talk about,
Heidi, I've got a couple things, but go ahead.
Camden Heidi falling out was big. and only 2 points, only 2 rebounds, a steal. But with Illinois going small, it just felt like it worked a lot better defensively with him in the game, of being able to, right, he is mobile enough to stay with cutters. He's physical enough that he can, help to a degree inside the paint and at the rim. He can still be out on the perimeter. Like, he's just a guy that fit well. Of he could switch. He could just do whatever they kind of needed defensively. Not that he was like lockdown by any means, but you could. It just right. His box score doesn't reflect it, but just watching it felt like, oh yeah, Heidi's just been very good this game.
Yeah, no, I do think that was key, because when Underwood kind of made that move in the second half, not that he didn't do it in the first half either, but kind of went to that more. I thought Cam was important just defensively. Painter said it in the post-game press conference too, of like, it's not going to show up in the box score, but what he helps us do defensively against that lineup is really important. I've seen a lot of people talk about foul 4 and foul 5 being phantom calls. Again, it's funny. They show the replays at visiting arenas that are clearly fouls on Purdue, but they never show the replays that people question on the big screen here. So I thought I thought he really, really walled up well. I didn't see where that foul came from. Did not really get a great look necessarily at the fifth foul when it happened in real time. I'm with you though. I thought Jakari and CJ had some really good minutes. I don't think it can be understated in an arena like this. This arena was rocking. It was not Mackey. It was not Assembly Hall, but it was good. And the first 2 threes that we knocked down, we're struggling to get one down. The first 2 threes came from those 2 freshmen. Jakari hits one, CJ hits one. Jakari hits a really important one when the game was tied later, just to see them continue to get more confident in not in their shot, but when they take their shot. And where they take their shot in terms of where we're playing and those sort of things, I do think is really important. And we saw them both attack CJ and Jakari again, attack the rim a couple of times in this game. That's a progression that we've seen to continue to increase as the season's gone on. So I think there's some positives there. I think we also have to give a shout out to Kaufman-Renn for crossing the 1,000-point barrier. That's a major accomplishment, especially since he was a starter last year, right? So it feels silly to say not featured, but he wasn't featured, right? He had his spots where it would be like, all right, go get your points. But with Zach down there, obviously being the feature and deservedly so, it is really impressive that he's been able to do it in the manner that he has and cross that 1,000-point barrier here. I don't think there's any doubt in my mind that Trey's going to be first team All Big Ten. I don't think there's any doubt that Braden's going to be first team All Big Ten. I still think he's Big Ten Player of the Year. I think he impacts the game in just too many different ways. You saw it tonight. 1 rebound away from a triple-double. Would have loved to have seen it. Would have loved to have seen it in a win. But the closest I think that he's ever gotten to that milestone, or has he been 1 rebound short before?
I thought he was once. I could look it up really quick.
Maybe it doesn't really matter. But it just so impactful across the board. And I mean, like, offensively, what are you going to say about that? Like, nobody did anything poorly offensively in this game other than, like, Braden missed some threes down the stretch. Trey missed a few mid-range shots that he normally hits. And you saw Trey, one thing, hey, I'll say this real quick. One thing that I loved about Trey, he was missing that little push shot early on. And you saw him, okay, like, I'm bullying my way to the rim. And his, like, next 5 shots, he got all the way to the rim, put them up 2-handed, made sure they went down.
No, true. And TK, like, he was awesome. Because the biggest thing I'm going to take away from him is kind of what you said, where I feel like we've seen some games where he gets off to a slow start and he's just never able to kind of flip it. And he was able to do that today. And come March, he's got to be able to do that if he has a slow start, he just has to be able to work his way out of it. And it was good to see him be able to do that. Illinois had no answer for him. Just no answer. Like, ISOs, they ran to start the second half 3 inverted screens basically in a row where a guard is setting the screen for TKR. They couldn't guard that. One-on-one post-ups, they couldn't guard that. Humberkaus on him, it didn't matter. Visage, sure, whatever, it doesn't matter. The biggest play, though, and Blake Marty brings it up, is painful. So he says painful loss. It came down to the final sequence, a painful steal from TKR and a clutch step back 3 goes down on the other end. Imagine TKR getting the 2 and the 3, rimming out only if. obviously you can do that for every game, but it is true, right? Will Riley made an awesome defensive play where, one of the few times that TKR did get stopped. Will Riley just kind of reaches in and is able to swipe the ball away, and then goes down. They hit a step back three, and that's just sometimes how the ball bounces. And
that possession right before it was 2 possessions in a row, so that you get that turnover there. The possession before that, Trey gets the ball late shot clock, has to pass it out to CJ, but CJ is wide open. And every time you see the ball leave his hands, you feel like there's a really good chance it's going in on a jump shot, and he just misses it. In that moment, we get an offensive rebound out of that. Braden gets the ball, misses a little 6-footer. Like, those are shots that go down, right? And if either one of those 2 possessions go differently, the conclusion of this game's differently, but they didn't. The regular season is over.
Crazy.
It is. It's crazy. There's been ups and downs. There's obviously been some, adversity that they've had to work through in terms of the losing streak and whatnot. I don't think losing at Illinois is an adversity thing. When seed lines were projected, they're getting projected every single day now, but you see a whole lot of people reacting to that 8 seed line and being like, nobody wants to play anybody on that 8 seed line as a number 1 seed. Because it had like Illinois on there, UConn on there. There was somebody else in that 8 seed line too, because those are teams that have the talent to knock off 1 seeds in this tournament. This is a very talented Illinois team. They just haven't always put it together. They've had some illnesses. They've had some injuries as well along the way. I don't think you get just crazy frustrated with a loss at Illinois that can be this good offensively. But obviously, you stack that with the 4 losses earlier. It just changes things in terms of the outlook, in terms of what they're going to have to start at position-wise and overcome in the NCAA tournament.
Yep, for sure. And they are the ones that have put themselves in this spot, and now they're just going to have to figure out a way to battle through it. In terms of Big Ten implications, I could be wrong, but quickly running through scenarios, it seems basically like if Maryland wins at home versus Penn State, then Purdue will be a 5 or a 6 seed. And I think that depends too on whether if Wisconsin loses and Michigan wins and UCLA wins, they'll be a 6, otherwise a 5. Now, if Maryland loses to Northwestern and Wisconsin wins, then Purdue's a 4 seed, actually. And if Maryland and Wisconsin both lose, then Purdue's a 3 seed. So there's still outs, but not super probable at this point. Wisconsin and Maryland are probably both 7 to 8 point favorites, I would say, over their respective opponents, but still always a chance. And that's what we got up next. We'll have some sort of preview type thing out, I'm sure, as well. We'll have the tournament, bracketology Sunday. We can do it, Kraig, if we wanted to. We could keep this under 40 if we really, really want to. We've never done that.
Dude, we've got a 2-hour drive home. We've got a 2-hour drive home. I think everybody will understand. B, I think also we just don't have a lot much else to break down in this particular game. So let's go to the starred comments. So I realized after I responded to somebody in here, like when we're responding from StreamYard, if we're in the comments also, it always shows as Bragg's in the stands. So somebody was like, I agree with you, Greg. That was actually me. But this was Greg Bragg's. Greg Bragg says, I'm in pain, and I'm not talking about my knee, but also my knee. Greg came out of surgery okay today, as far as we know. We saw him tweet that he was alive. As long as Greg is tweeting, he's still okay. So get better soon, Greg. Braggs also said, frustrated that Braden couldn't go win at the end. Felt like that could have been a Big Ten Player of the Year ceiling moment. Now possibly up for grabs. Still feel like he gets it. I would agree. I assume you agree, Joe, that probably feels like he gets it.
He's going to get it. It would be wild if he didn't.
Yeah. Emmy Bogenride, appreciate you listening. As always, I thought our guys played really well tonight. Battled on the boards, got good looks. Shots just were not falling for us and were for them. It's basically what Painter said in the post-game press conference. He's like, I loved our energy. I thought our guys played really hard. I thought they tried, they battled, they got rebounds, just couldn't get a couple of stops and missed too many shots that they normally make. David Dillman said, is there a bracketology special with Coach Tonsoni? Joe already answered that one. 5:30 on Sunday is what we're looking at. Oh, I think you already showed this, Joe. Did you already show that one? Yeah.
Yeah, my bad.
That's okay. And then another $10 super chat. Thank you very much, Jeff Parks, longtime listener. We appreciate you tuning into the show always. Do Braden and TKR both make first team Big Ten? Seems undoubtedly to me. Joe and I were talking about this on the way over. On the women's side of thing, they picked a first team All Big Ten that had 10 on it.
Yeah.
And a second team All Big Ten that had 10. So 20 total. In the past, they've done 3 teams, 5, 5, and 5. So a total of 15. If it's 10, it's no doubt. If it's 5, it's no doubt. They're both going to be first team All Big Ten. But I think it's very, very comfortable if they follow the same model as women, which I can't see why they would do women's one way and men's the other. So I'm assuming they're going to.
Yeah, there are 3 locks in the Big Ten for first team, and Purdue has 2 of them. The other one being John Tonje. So, SLK Boiler, I don't know if we already brought this up, said, will Bits be at the Big Ten tournament? We will.
Oh, no.
We will be there live, Indy, whether it be Thursday, Friday. I plan on being there every day, truthfully, watching a lot of Big Ten hoops. And then it's March Madness and it's time. And regardless of what your thoughts are on the season, it's, it is a fun time. And these next few weeks are going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have plenty of content. So make sure to like and subscribe. So that way you are able to get notified. Well, if you turn on bell notifications, you'll get notified as soon as we do post things or go live or anything of that sort. So, unfortunate loss for Purdue. Definitely things to learn from, things to improve. But at this point in the season, you are who you are. Purdue is a team that has shown they can beat pretty much anybody in the country. They've also shown that they can come out and lose some different types of games. So, going to be an interesting ride come March. We'll have everything that you need covered here right on Boilers in the Stands, and we appreciate everybody tuning in. See you Sunday for the Bracketology Show with Tonsoni.